This week it's been the tale of weather patterns. You're out here on the right day with the right weather pattern, you can be a hero. You hit the wrong day with the wrong weather pattern, you could be a zero. We're going to get into that as we get into the report, but before we do, let's take a look at a few of the pictures that some of the more successful anglers sent in the past week. Let's check it out and we'll get right into the report. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. You're watching In Deep on the Delta. This is the weekly fishing report, April 24th, 2025. And as I said in the intro, it's been a little on and off depending on the day that you're out here. The fishing has been really pretty good, but we're going to really need this moon phase, tidal period, and weather to cooperate. So that when you guys get out here on the weekend or you just have one day to come out here and fish, it's going to get more and more steady. So with that, I have no river business. The first thing I'm going to talk about is Clear Lake for a minute. I talked to Clear Lake Outdoors to see if that incredible bite that was happening last week when they had the one bass tournament was still going. That's when they had a couple of bags, 3-day limits, over 100 pounds, just an incredible bite. And the word is that it's slowed down a little bit. When you say it's slowed down a little bit from the great fishing that they had 10 days ago, it's still pretty darn good for most anglers. If you go up there, it's a good thing to have forward-facing sonar. I talked to Rob Cloutier from the Bass Hole. Rob took, I believe it was a one-day trip up there, and he hit one of those days where it was tough. He had to work for just a couple of fish, and you guys know that Rob is a good fisherman. He has good equipment. He knows his electronics, and I know Rob fishes hard when he goes up there, and he had a tough day. So it's not a give me up there, but it's tough. So the word is the fish are in full spawn. There is no real patterns going on. Take your choice. Fish what you like, whether it's an A-rig, an underspin, a worm, or plastics. Everything is working up there. You just have to know the lake. You have to get on the fish. You have to be up there at the right day. The other word is that the crappie are on an absolute tear. Seems like everybody's catching crappie up there. I talked to Marlon Carpenter from Crappie Closet Baits. Marlon was up there, and Marlon says that the numbers are outstanding. The size of the fish have dropped a little bit. They're catching mostly males. Marlon's fishing docks, and he is getting big numbers. The fish are more around that 1 to 1.5 pound class rather than that 2 to 2.5 pound class of crappie that was coming out about a month ago. The females have spawned out. They're probably getting ready for a second spawn, but if you want to catch crappie, now's the time to go up and give that a try. So that's Clear Lake. We'll get right into the Delta, and I'll start off with water conditions out here, and we'll talk about a little bit about this weather pattern and why things have been kind of on and off. We'll talk about the stripers. We'll do everything we need to do to get you guys ready for fishing this next week. So we've got about 65, 68 degree water temps depending on where you're at and you know what time of day you're out here. The visibility down south, I've got reports from 1 to 3 feet. As you get in the central delta, it's more like 3 to 6 feet, a little better visibility. Water temps are pretty much consistent throughout, you know, depending on where you are, if you're on the main channel, if you're in back of the slough, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. So with that, what's going on with the stripers? Well, I talked to Jeff Suhu from Suhu Sport Fishing, and he has just been on an absolute tear. Now, you know, he's fishing out, we'll call it the West Delta, out around Pittsburgh. That's his home base, and he's fishing up and down the river, and he is catching big numbers, solid fish, getting a lot of teeners. He's primarily fishing live bait. He is also doing a lot of spooning, and he's moving around a lot. He's trying to stay away from other boats. Hopefully I'm going to have Jeff on next week, and I'm going to give him a chance to meet give you guys a chance to meet Jeff. Let him talk about what he's doing out here when it comes to striper fishing. He is full-time, back to full-time guiding for stripers on the Delta, and if you want to get have a day where you can find somebody to get you into some fish, Jeff is the guy to do that. So I want to thank Jeff for giving me that report. I have found that, or the reports that I am getting from the Central Delta, Rob is talking about the fishing around Frank's Track, still picking up quite a few stripers. The Central Channel is still doing pretty well. It wasn't on that tremendous bite that I talked about last week. And with that, let's talk about why certain things are happening. The beginning of last week, the end of last week, the beginning of this week, which we're going back, 7 or 8 days ago, we had a weather pattern that was creating quite a bit of breeze. We were getting 15 to 20 every day, and we had some bite windows that were coming in and out with these fronts. We also had a better tidal coefficient. The tidal coefficients, I think, were around 60, 70, somewhere in there. Our tidal coefficients in the last week has dropped down to in the 30s and 40s, which is just pitiful. We haven't had much tide. The weather got beautiful. We have no breeze out here, which is super tough conditions when it comes to fishing, for the largemouth, and it also affects the stripers. And it's just the weather pattern has been a big factor in what people have been catching out here, especially when it comes to largemouth bass. I'm going to tell you what I've been doing, and I'm going to tell you how important it's been for me to be out here at the right time. But before I do, let's talk about the one tournament that they had last week. It was a, what the heck was it? It was the NorCal Bass Club tournament out at Ladd's. I believe that was on Saturday. Once again, Lorenzo and Luca Renzetti won the tournament with 25.4. They had a 9.4 pound kicker. And I'm gonna be flat out and tell you, don't expect to come out here and catch a 25-pound bag. Lorenzo and his son Luca, I believe in the last month, have been the top team on the Delta as far as being consistent every time they go out. So think about this. Couple thousand people a week out here bass fishing. Lorenzo and Luca are one team, and they've got something going on. I don't know what the heck they're eating for breakfast or what they're putting on the end of their line, but if I could put those guys on a spyglass, I'd be watching everything they did, because they got something going on. Congratulations. And by the way, for those of you who don't know Lorenzo and Luca, I think he's about 10 years old. Luca is not like a college student's son. Luca is a very young angler, and he's getting a heck of a Delta instructional upbringing, I'll tell you that. So congratulations, guys. Here's the good news. The top 5 all of them had over 19 pounds. I think there were 3 bags over 20 pounds. The tough news is that midfield, out of about, I think, 46 boats or something, they're still getting about 11 pounds, an average of 11 pounds for their sack. And once again, the guys from NorCal Bass Club, most of them are local anglers, and they're all capable of putting in big limits of fish. So if you're not coming out here and catching those 25-pound bags, don't feel bad, and don't get too far down on yourself. I will talk about what I've been doing, and I want to first thank all of the folks that have been out there that have been sending me the reports. This week, and I'd say the last couple weeks, they have been especially important for me, because what I'm seeing out here, and I've been out here 3, 4, 5 days a week fishing really hard, and the reports that are all coming in pretty much correspond. So I'm telling you what I'm doing out here, but everyone that's sending me these reports, it's pretty much meshing. Everybody's seeing the same thing. So here is what I have found. Last week, when we had better tides, we had unsettled weather, we had some breeze, everything was fantastic. I was catching decent numbers of fish, and I was catching big fish. Not every day, not every cast. I also found that as those fronts were coming through, my fish were coming in short windows of opportunity, and then I would have an hour or two between bites. But at the end of the day, man, I could say I caught enough fish where I was happy, and I caught some of the right fish. As soon as that weather kind of passed and we've got these bluebird days, no wind, the last week or two, or the last 4, 5, 6 days, I think I looked at the tidal coefficients, they were like in the 30s. That's terrible. There's no tidal fluctuation. There's not a ripple on the water. It's just been, it really took the rug out from under my decent fishing, and every fish that I've been catching, I've had to work my butt off for. Let's get into this. And no matter at what stage of the game I am in right now, I can tell you that the last 3 or 4 days out here, I have done everything that I could do. And I'm going to say I am on my game. That game may not be very good, but whatever I got, I've been on it. I've been making the right decisions. I've been at the right place at the right time. And everything that I've been doing, I'm real happy with it. Is it paying off? It's paying off with a few fish here and there, and I'm thinking if I was just coming out here on a Gilligan Island cruise, I probably wouldn't catch a fish. These fish are not easy to catch. So with that, here's the skinny. I am looking for a high outgo tide. I'm looking for a little bit of breeze, and I'm looking for short bite windows. I can say this, before I leave my house, every single morning, and I have found this to be true in the last 10 days, I am looking at the tide, I'm looking at solunar phases, I'm looking at the coefficient, and I'm looking at the weather, especially the solunar phase when it says that the bite window is going to be between 9:30 and 10:30, and that coincides with a high outgo tide, and it's a day where it's a little overcast and there's a little breeze. Those are the times when I'm catching fish. And if I was just coming out to catch my dinner, I had to survive on that, I would be looking at, again, the solunar tables and the tides and the weather, and I would only go during those days that they all lined up. On the days that that stuff doesn't line up, it's a bit of a grind out here. So think about that. And by the way, I have quite a few videos when it comes to looking at tide charts and finding solunar phases and looking at stuff like that. So don't be afraid to check out In Deep on the Delta if you're fooling around out there. So with that, the number one bait is a worm, weightless Cinco 6-inch. That's going to get you bit day in, day out. A chatterbait in crayfish color. If you have a slight breeze, you can throw a crankbait. Again, man, a lot of people are saying they're throwing crankbaits in odd colors, but the best number one color is going to be your crayfish color. The topwater bite and the evening bite for topwaters and morning bite is just not really doing well. There's a few people that are getting frogs to blow up. Every now and then somebody catches a big fish on a frog, but most of the frog fishermen say that the frog bite, they're coming up and hitting it, but they're not sticking. I've also found that to be a problem. I've also found that the morning bite and the evening bite just is not there enough to where you want to get up super early or stay out. And most of the people that are trying that are saying the same thing. They're getting a fish or two, but it's not really worth the effort. What else is working out here? I am getting an occasional fish on a wake bait. I get an occasional fish on a bubble walker. I am starting to throw the horny toad with an underspin. That's doing well, and also a fluke. I'm starting to pick up a few fish on flukes. Talked to Rob Cloutier. He thinks that what's going to happen here in the next week or so. When this weather pattern really starts to heat up, we lose our breeze. It's going to really be dependent on getting close to cover, whether it's tules, whether it's wood, whether it's fishing in vegetation. We're talking about next couple weeks punching and maybe frogging over the heavy mats, and maybe just, you know, getting down and dirty and just fishing it like it's the dirty D. Close to cover, heavy stuff, looking for those fish that are pulled in tight, under stuff, around structure. So with that, that's what I have for you this week. Stay tuned. I'm going to be coming up with some interesting videos in the next couple weeks. And I'm going to go out and see if I can't hit that tide and the right, we got a little bit of a breeze. Maybe I'll have some footage to throw on the front of the video this week. Thanks a lot. Good luck.